Welcome to SV Union High School and Junior College.
Welcome students. Standard 6th History Chapter number 10 Ancient India Cultural Part 2. So today we are going to see the remaining part of this lesson, that is Chapter 10 Ancient India Cultural. So let us start, students. Last time in the previous video we saw about the first point, that is language and literature. In this video we are going to see the 4 points, and those are 10.2 Life of the People, 10.3 Science, 10.4 Centers of Education, 10.5 Art and Architecture. Now let us see point number 2, Life of the People. The literature of ancient India sheds light on the way of life of the common people of those times. Those were prosperous times due to the flourishing internal as well as foreign trade. So children, what is trade? Trade means export and import of goods. What is export and import? That means you have to sell and the purchase of goods. That is, sell and the purchase of good is called as trade. So here during those times also we were having internal as well as foreign trade. There were organizations of traders as well as artisans. These organizations were called Shrenis. Now what do you mean by artisans, children? Artisan means a person who skillfully makes different articles with his or her hands. That is the meaning of artisans. So here the group of artisans, or we can say the group of traders, they were called as Shreni. The name of their group was Shrenis. Trade was carried out by sea as well as land routes. Indian goods like fine textile means the clothes. Ivory means, children, the tusk of an elephant. It was being used for making various articles during those times. Precious stones, spices means masalas. Beautifully made earthen pottery were in great demand in foreign countries. The main crops were rice, wheat, barley and lentils, that is masoor. The diet of the people included food items made from these besides meat, fish, milk, ghee and fruits. The people mostly wore cotton garments, though silk and woolen garments were also worn. Their clothes resembled today's dhoti, uparne, mundse, sari, etc. The concept of stitching clothes was introduced in India during the Kushana period. Let us see the next point, that is 10.3 Science. In that, the first one is medicine. Indian medical science is known as Ayurveda. It has a very old tradition. It seeks to understand the symptoms of an illness, its diagnosis and treatment. Symptoms means what problem a patient is facing. Diagnosis means the test which we do to diagnose a disease, to know about a disease. And treatment means the doctor will be giving you some treatment or some medicines to cure that disease. Also, much thought has been given to prevention of illness. Jivaka was a well-known Vaidya at the court of King Bimbisara. The Charaka Samhita contains detailed information about clinical diagnosis and pharmacy. Pharmacy means what? The study of medicines. It was written by Charak. Here you can see a famous surgeon, Shushruta. So what do you mean by surgeon? A surgeon means one who performs operation is called as a surgeon. So here the famous surgeon Shushruta has discussed the diagnosis of different ailments and their remedies in his treatise, the Shushruta Samhita. You might have heard about this lesson in your English textbook. The importance of this text is that it discusses the different causes leading to injuries, fractures, their types, and the various types of surgeries required for them. So, when they were having certain injuries or fractures, so in this book, that is Sushruta Samhita, Sushruta has discussed about the various types of surgeries which should be performed. The text was translated into the Arabic language and was called Kitab-e-Shushud. Vaghabhatta also wrote many books on medical science. The Ashtanga Sangraha and Ashtanga Hridaya Samhita are the most important of them. The Bauddha Bhikkhu Siddha Nagarjuna in his book Rasa Ratnakara describes various chemicals and metals. Rasa Ratnakara. Rasa means chemicals and Ratnakara means metals. Let us see the next concept, that is mathematics and astronomy. Children, you all very well know what do you mean by mathematics. Mathematics means the operations of digits, and astronomy means the study of stars, planets, space. That is called as astronomy. So let us see about this point. The ancient Indians had studied mathematics and astronomy at great depth. Indians were the first to use the numerals 1 to 9 and 0. They invented the concept of decimal system in which the value of digit changes according to its place, ekam, daham, that means units and tens. The scientist Aryabhatta wrote the book Aryabhatiya, which included many formulae for mathematical operations. Aryabhatta was also an astronomer. He stated that the earth revolves around the sun. Varamihir wrote the famous text Pancha Siddhantika in the 6th century AD. This text discusses principles of Indian astronomy along with the principles of astronomy from the Greek, Roman and Egyptian civilization. Do you know Kannad? Kannad wrote the book called Vaisheshik Darshan. It mainly discusses Anu and Parmanu. According to Kannad, the universe is full of innumerable objects. These objects are nothing but the different forms of Anus. These forms might change, but the Anu remain unchanged. Let us see the next point, that is 10.4, Centers of Education. There were many famous centers of education in ancient India. Students from other countries also came there for their studies. That means students from outside also, from other countries also came in India for studies. Let us see the first university, that is Takshashila University. Takshashila was an important city on the ancient Indian trade route. Today it is in Pakistan. Archaeological evidence found there suggests that the city was established in the 6th century BCE. Jivaka, a contemporary of Gautam Buddha and a famous Vaidya, had studied at Takshashila University. By the 4th century BCE, the fame of the university had spread far and wide. Chandragupta Maurya, the founder of the Mauryan Empire, was educated at this university. The grammarian Panini and Vaidya Charaka were also the students of Takshashila University. The Greek historians who accompanied Alexander have also given a description of the university. They have stated that such a university did not exist anywhere in Greece. The famous Chinese Bauddha Bhikkhu Fahin, who came to India around 400 CE, also visited the Takshashila University. The university provided education in various subjects such as Vedic literature, Buddhist philosophy, economics and logic. Next is Varanasi. The river Ganga has two tributaries. Tributaries means what, children? Tributaries means the branches of the rivers. So one tributary was called as Varna and the other one was called as Asi. That is why the city was called as Varanasi. The city located between them came to be called as Varanasi. Since ancient times, it has had centers which provided education in the areas of Vedic as well as Jain and Buddhist philosophy. Next is Vallabhi. Vallabhi was an ancient city in Saurashtra, that is Gujarat. From the 5th to the 8th century CE, it was an important center of Jain and Buddhist philosophy. Yongchuang and Itzing, the Chinese Bauddha bhikkhus, had visited Vallabhi. Next is Nalanda University. The remains of the ancient Nalanda University can be found near today's Patna city in Bihar. Emperor Harshvardhan made generous donations to this university. According to the description of Yongchuang and Itzing, Nalanda University could accommodate thousands of students. The library stocked thousands of books. Students seeking admission to the university had to appear for an examination at the entrance gate. So that means, children, it is like an entrance exam which we are following today. So that means this is not a new concept. It is an old concept. Entrance exam is an old concept which we can see it during the ancient time in India, that was followed in the Nalanda University. Next is the Vikramashila University. This university was located near today's Bhagalpur in Bihar. It was established by a king named Dharmapal in the 8th century CE. It had 6 viharas, each having its own separate entrance. So you can see one entrance over here. Out of the 6, it is one of the entrance given. And the last one over here is the city of Kanchi. During the reign of the Pallava dynasty, that is the 6th century CE, Kanchi in Tamil Nadu emerged as an important center of education. It was a center for the teaching and learning of Vedic, Jain and Buddhist texts. Now we will go on to the last point, that is 10.5, Art and Architecture. Indian architecture reached its peak during the Maurya and the Gupta periods. The stone pillars erected by Emperor Ashoka at various places are excellent examples of Indian sculpture. The stupa at Sanchi and cave sculptures at Udaygiri, Khandagiri, Karla, Nashik, Ajanta, Ellora, etc. show that the same tradition advanced even further. The art of making images was developed during the Gupta period. Temple architecture developed during the reigns of the Chalukya and Pallava dynasties in South India. The temples of Mahabalipuram are a testimony to this architecture. The art of making bronze images of deities emerged during the period of the Pallavas. The iron pillar at Mehrauli near Delhi is evidence of the advanced knowledge of metallurgy of the ancient Indians. Thus, it is clear that ancient Indian culture was very prosperous and advanced. In the next chapter, we will study India's contact with other civilizations and its far-reaching impact. Students, we will end up here now. I hope so you all have understood the lesson. Thanks for watching my video till the end. Keep watching my video. Comment me in my comment box. Thanks a lot everyone. Once again, thank you.